Hi guys, welcome back to Broke Not Broken, and we're going to do something different on this channel today. We're going to discuss a little bit of history and how it might actually save your life during these hard times. I know a lot of people out there have been struggling financially, emotionally, spiritually, all the things. Because when you turn on the radio or the TV or even scroll on the internet, the news comes right up telling you the fast action of what's going on overseas. And for some of us, it's too much to handle all at once. Now, last evening, I took a few minutes and spoke to Jason about this concept as in we are living as if we are in a state of war for the time being, and we are going to do it in a way that is reasonable, using up our resources and being mindful of how much we use. Now, that being said, I took a history lesson from my grandmother, who was born in 1940. Now, rationing started happening in 1942 until 1947 in Canada. And things like commodities, sugar, lard, butter, all those things were rationed really hard. Now, she was raised on a farm with her aunt and her grandmother and her mother still here, while her uncle and her father were overseas fighting. And those women ran the farm and did what they can outside the house in order to buy commodities. Now, when speaking with my grandmother, she did inform me that nothing was put to waste ever in her grandmother's house, because they didn't know when they were going to get more stuff. Now, keep in mind that their home had no power to it until the mid 50s, and they had water in the kitchen, but no bathroom facilities in the house. They used an outhouse until they could get plumbing at their home. Now, this is where perspective comes in, okay? So for an adult in Canada, the rations were as follows: 4 ounces of cheese, 2 pounds of meat. People were asked to hunt and fish. I know in the Maritimes they had a limit on what they could fish. A lot of our canned stuff went to the UK to support them. So they stopped giving canned tuna, canned salmon, and it was sent to the boys overseas at some point. They received a quarter of a cup of butter with their rations. Margarine was not available in Canada. It was sent to the war front because they made bombs using the glycerin. So all fats, Canadians were asked to save up and send to help our boys. Ounces of sugar per adult per week. Now, they use sugar as a seasoning, not as a food source. It was more of an energy source. So they used it in cakes, etc. On a Sunday, my grandma said they used a lot of applesauce in cakes and molasses and maple syrup, other things other than their cups of sugar, which they picked up every week. 1 1/3 ounces of tea. Now, the coffee got me because I have coffee here, and the coffee that we use right now is instant. Now, it's 5 ounces of coffee, which works out to 3.35 ounces per person. Now, Jay and I drink instant, okay, because it's quick and easy. And this little can will last us a week. And that can comes out to 3.35 ounces in total. So 5 ounces, so that'll be 10 ounces between Jay and I a week of instant coffee should we be rationing. 1 packet of dry milk monthly. Now, it would have been a bag, and 12 ounces of sweets monthly. Now, that would have been like your hard candy. We don't eat a lot of sweets in this house, but 12 ounces of sweets is a lot for a family of 5. They also received 1 pound of preserves such as jam every 2 months. And 1 egg per week per person was a ration as well. But if you lived on a farm, generally speaking, you had your own chickens. So we're going to follow that because we do have a friend that gives us eggs on a regular basis. And we're just going to go through and live as if with modern technology. Now, just for perspective, there is 2 apples in here and 4 sweet potatoes, as well as a 800-gram ham in my Instapot, which I'm using as a slow cooker today. Now, 800 grams works out to 1.76 pounds. So technically, if it was just Jay and I in the house, we would still have a little bit more meat, but they would have received 3 pieces of bacon per family member if you didn't have your own pigs, etc. Now, canned goods were rationed at some point. You got to buy on points certain items, but the reason for the rationing of the canned goods was because they need the metals to continue to fight. So that being said, we're going to work through what we have here at Broke Not Broken, waste not, want not, and eat well while we can. Now, in doing my research for this conversation I'm having with you right now, they often requested families to eat more, spam, and they served it with beans. I am not a big fan, and this isn't spam, but it's close enough. I'm not a big fan. It's too salty for me, but that's okay. We're going to learn to love it. Now, my grandma also said they were rationing gasoline and coal and all the things to help the guys on the battlefield. And she says they were incredibly mindful. Everything had a purpose, and they wasted like absolutely nothing in order to keep the boys fed overseas and show their patriotism. Now, before we jump forward with this mission of making do, mending, and living as if, I have to scale in. Now, with our soaring gas prices globally because of what's going on overseas, I really, really have to think about, do I need my car to get there? Now, I do live in a community where the closest grocery store is about, say, 15 kilometers away. So there's that. And I do believe the last time I filled up was 2 days ago, and it was $1.59 per liter. And my car typically only takes $45 to fill. Yesterday or the day before, it was nearly $60 to fill my car. So because this project is going to have me eating more, being more active, we're going to scale in, and I'm going to show you the scale numbers. We're going to take 2 pounds off for jean weight and sweater weight, and I'll show you what the number is. So 155 respectively if I was standing there naked, which I was not. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, Shannon, you're cheating this project. You're using modern convenience things like an Instapot and a real stove, and you have hydro. Well, yeah, I'm cheating it a little bit. I don't have an Elmira cook stove. Trust me, if I had one, it would totally be used in this video. And I just don't have space in a tiny house for one. And I haven't found one yet that will fit. Another tip my grandmother did give me was don't clean things that aren't visibly dirty. You're wasting cleaner. You're wasting time. You're wasting energy that could be put towards something better. So, laundry days, like she said, for laundry, they wore their clothing a few times before washing it. Bath days, it was a communal bath, aka you had the cleanest person get in the water first and the dirtiest person last, and they all shared the same bath water. I know in the UK they had a limit on water as to how much you could use per week, and the goal was 5 inches for a family for the week. And I feel like by the time you're the last person in the water, it's going to be really gnarly. We're not participating in that. We're going to set a timer for showers and drop the plug in, and I will do it for mine and, measure it out and see how much water I'm using. Could save me a crap ton of money. I do have 2 children that work on a farm, and as much as I would love to conserve water that way, I do not want my house to smell like barn, so they're going to have daily showers as opposed to me, who could go a couple days without one and just do a simple, bed bath, yeah. Now, the other thing is the reason I haven't measured anything is because some of those ingredients I just don't have. I don't have eggs right now. I do have frozen bacon in the freezer. I have a whole crap ton of it because I got it on sale. And a friend of mine who happens to be a butcher gave me some bacon. So there's that. I do have some wild game left in the one freezer. And like I said before, hunting and fishing was a thing during this time period in order to make up the difference of meat and different shortages in the food section. Now, there was other shortages such as coal. People were encouraged to turn their thermostats down, use less of, stuff like that, because they needed the energy sources for overseas. Now it is clothesline season, so I will be not using my dryer because they didn't have dryers. They had clotheslines. So that's a nod towards this mission. And if you're capable and willing to do that, you will save money on your power, which will actually free up a little bit. I will be only shopping locally for this project, which means I can't go past 30 kilometers outside of my region to get the things that I need, therefore saving on fossil fuels and making a deliberate trip, not just I need sugar and butter and cheese and whatever. These are deliberate, errands. I'm also going to try to limit the hydro usage in the house as much as possible. We don't have a radio in the house. I have a radio in my car, clearly, but we don't listen to the radio at all. I don't even own one anymore. So there's that. The boys have said that the TV is kind of like their radio. So, I mean, I could fight that and say you can only watch X amount of TV per day, but realistically, my boys, during the good weather, they are out doing whatever and they work incredibly hard. So I'm seeing the TV kind of as the modern day radio. I know I'm going to get killed in the comments for this, but there's that. I'm not going to cut off their internet because they need it for school and references for things that they're looking into. So we're not going to cut that off. We're just going to limit their ability to use it, aka unplugging the hub. Anyway, so if anyone out there is interested in this project and would like to try it on their own, try it. I'm going to keep you abreast with everything that I am doing in order to cut the cost down of every single thing in my house in order to keep money in my pocket and to prepare myself for what could happen. And I think it's vitally important for everyone to be ready for what could happen in the near future. Oh, say hi, Hercules. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I will be back with more stuff as the week goes on, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.